You've always wondered what were the derpiest tank of each tier from tier 1 to tier 10. Today guys, I'm gonna give you the answer you need. Let's start at tier 1 talking about the Cruiser Mark II. Obviously, we're talking about the tier 1, so do not expect to one-shot anything. Because obviously, when you start the game, the last thing you want as a new player is getting totally obliterated by pretty much everything you see. But we still have some kind of a derp because this tank is equipped with a 2-shell autoloader, each shell being 30 alpha damage for a total outburst of 60 damage within 4.4 seconds. And obviously, even if it's not going to be enough to scare your opponents, it's definitely an awesome tank to play and one of the funniest tier 1s if you already have it. And if you don't, feel free to buy it back because after all the tier 1s are totally free. Next, at tier 2, we will find the Panzer Jaeger 1, a collectible tank destroyer from the German tech tree. The only ability of the tank is to inflict a lot of damage within a short amount of seconds because you're equipped with an 80 single damage alpha shotgun. But is it enough to make it worth it? In my opinion, no. And even if it's a collectible and that you really wanted to give it a try, to be fair with you boys, you are not missing anything because beside this alpha damage, you lack of armor and mobility, so definitely not the greatest tank. The derpiest, yes. The best, no. At tier 3, where the fun begins, we're gonna talk about the T-82, a tier 3 American collectible tank destroyer. In my opinion, we can finally talk about real derp guns when we talk about this tier 3, simply because it's the first time we get a tank with an HE that is capable of penetrating frontally your opponents, but also inflicting more than half of their hit points in terms of damage. Because this tank is equipped with a gun that is capable of doing 200 alpha damage per shot, if obviously you manage to penetrate. Otherwise you will get stuck to the hit shell and this tank loses all of its sense when you actually not use the HE. So are you capable of getting that tank? Unfortunately no, it was removed after the 5.5 update and only if you bought it before this update could you get it. So obviously not with that we are in the 9.2 update, I'm not expecting too many people to get it, but do not worry, it will come back sooner or later. Probably in the battle pass or maybe in a juicy offer as an addition to an expensive tier 8 collectible or premium tank. Don't worry. At tier 4 we find the Electo, a British tank destroyer. 1075 alpha damage. This is what the Electo is capable of. But be careful about one thing if you are willing to play it. You do not have any armor at all and most people at tier 4 know about it, which means that they are gonna shoot HE at you and they will penetrate like it's butter. It's like a CDC or a Dracula. So yeah, you might want to make sure not to be in first line and camp a little bit like I'm currently doing. But overall, let's say that the Electo has probably the greatest gun at tier 4 because not only has it a great alpha damage, it's also carrying a great reload time, a great penetration and great gun depression values. At tier 5, we find the Gargoyle, an amazing medium German tank. Here is a tank you really want to acquire because it's so fun to play. Literally, I played it only for this video and I just loved going back to this gameplay. 280 alpha damage per shot with your regular, more than 350 using your HE shells. So I can tell you that every time you penetrate with HE, you get half of the total amount of the hit points of whatever you are shooting at. On top of that, the penetration with hit shell will totally allow you to have some great fun even against the most armored tanks like the Mitsu 108 or even the Excelsior. So is it a tank that you want to acquire? Yes, but is it going to be hard to acquire it? Also yes, because it's a collectible that was available for a special event, and usually when tanks are available for special events only, they do not come back into the store. Maybe that Wargaming will do an exception with that tank, we never know, but all we know is that it was a gift from Wargaming and definitely one of the greatest. At tier 6, we find the Su-100Y, a premium USSR tank. Unlike the Gargoyle, this one is, yes, a premium, but is obtainable directly from the Russian tech tree for the small price of 3.2k gold or something like that. And knowing that you have many offers in which gold is cheap, I'm gonna tell you that it's definitely the offer you need. On top of that, the Su-100Y has a special feature which is directly connected to the gold shell, because unlike many other tanks of this tier, this this one is equipped with bigger alpha damage per shell when you're using gold, for the downside being less penetration. Is it worth it? Yes. Is it a tank to acquire because it's just hilarious to play with? Also yes. And for the most curious out there, the alpha damage using gold shell with this tank is 530 at tier 6. So it's either you are gonna two-shot any tier 7 in front of you, or you are gonna one-shot, if you're lucky enough, any tier 6 in front of you. At tier 7, we find the Smasher, a collectible heavy tank from the Blitz Nation. We all know why the Smasher is on the list. First of all, it's one of the few tier 7 heavy tank that is capable of one-shotting its counterparts if you are lucky enough to penetrate an HE shell. And trust me, the HE penetration on that tank is crazy enough for you to be able to do it at least 1 or 2 times per game. But there is also something problematic with this tank. A lot of people complain that it was too broken, and therefore I don't think that Wargaming will ever sell it again, at least in a direct bundle, because most of the time when the Smasher comes back, it's in the form of crates. You will still be able to get it, but you will have to spend a lot of money. And it's logic, because the harder, or I should say the more broken a tank, the harder it becomes for you to get it through a regular achievement like buying a direct bundle. But overall, that tank is totally broken, and if you don't have one, you definitely want to do everything in your possibility to get one. Number 8, the T49 Light tank from the American tech tree. Take a Smasher, put its gun on a light tank that goes 70 km per hour, and you get yourself the T49. It's a great tank to have fun or to do some funny edits like you might have seen on World of Tank Blitz Joe's channel or even Angail channel, and hopefully it will remain the same for years to come. Nobody's complaining, so I think it's going to be the case. And if you don't have one, trust me, once you start having some good experience and map knowledge, this tank is hilarious to play, and it's also really nice to be able to just circle your opponents without them being able to do anything, for you to snap nearly 1000 damage directly into their ass. Number 9, the WT Auf Penza 4, a tier 9 German tank destroyer. What's crazy about the tank you are currently seeing is its precision compared to the gun it's packing, because you have a 152mm one, and as you're a German tank, you are going to be deadly accurate. And obviously, on top of that, featuring the fact that you have a turret plus a good mobility, you get yourself a great tank that is loved among the community. So loved that Wargaming is preparing an event in which you are going to be able to get the collectible version of that tank called... I forgot the exact name and I apologize for that, but do not worry, I did a video on it. And well, if you don't have it, you definitely want to keep it, especially since the nerf of the tier 10 that is coming right after, which obviously makes this one better than the tier 10 currently. Is it going to change? Probably. Right now, definitely not. So yeah, enjoy it. And number 10, without a single doubt, the FV215B 1A3, a tech tree British tier 10 tank destroyer. 1.3 thousand alpha damage per shot. This is what you should expect using this tank with gold shell. And obviously it's quite amazing enough to be mentioned. It's the highest alpha damage of the game, and it's probably gonna stay that way until Wargaming finally manages to implement the FV4005 stage 1, which is the FV4005 we have in the game, using the same gun as the FV1A3. Is it going to happen? I don't know, but waiting for it, you can get a small taste of it by using the FV. But be careful about one thing: having the greatest alpha damage of all tank also means that you have a poor accuracy, and this one is no exception. If you want to use it wisely, you need to make sure to fully aim at your target. On top of that, the grind to get to this tank is just horrific. Most of the tanks you will unlock are quite shit, except probably the tier 8 and the tier 9 currently, now that it's being buffed. But yeah, it's not as fun as the WT Auf Panzer 4 that we talked previously, for example. But in definitive, it's definitely an hilarious tank to play, just because you are able to inflict such kind of damages. In 2 shots, our friend right there, Mio, managed to snap nearly 3k damage. And this is the kind of thing that makes you love the FV1A3. And that's it. This closes the list until there is tier 11 or tier -1, which is not the case right now. Hopefully you enjoyed. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. And tell me if you like or not the tank I just listed. All the tanks are available, some for money, some if you were lucky or if you were available at the right time into the game, and hopefully it will stay that way to avoid getting derpy tanks pretty much everywhere until they ruin the matchmaking. So if you enjoyed, you know what to do, and I'm gonna see you soon for a new video. Bye.